On this episode, we talk about transferring the benefits of the weight room to the mound
and how it takes a fusion of training.
All right, Brent Porcio, Stephen Godani here at the @TopVelocity #PitchingTips Show, where you go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram @TopVelocity #PitchingTips. Ask your question, we answer it on the show. So we're upstairs in our little laboratory because we've got some camps going on downstairs. So maybe we can use the cool board here.
Draw some stuff, maybe.
Yeah, maybe not. We need markers, probably though.
That's probably necessary.
Maybe we'll find some markers. All right, so cool. So if you don't know anything about us, go to TopVelocity.net. Check out our 3X programs, 2X programs. Basically answering your questions. If you have a question, like I said, go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Ask your question. We want to answer on the show. We've got a lot of great questions up to now. We're getting close to episode 100. We also have a lot to come to, so we're going to do our best to get to those questions. So let's start today with our question for the day.
Andrew Knutson, 44, asked, what exercises help change the vertical plane of power cleans and vertical jump and turn it into a more linear plane as you would in pitching?
Okay, that's a good question. So really in your strength and conditioning approach, where you're building maximizing power, it's so much easier to maximize power in a vertical movement because it's just more easier to work with gravity going up, basically back into gravity as opposed to horizontally. So we're going to change those vectors when we get into our drills and our biomechanics drills. That's where we're going to take the body's athleticism and we're going to teach it to use that athleticism through the biomechanics of a high velocity pitcher. So with 3X pitching, I have put together 50 plus components coming from research that shows correlations to certain movement patterns of these high velocity pitchers, and also in that as far as increasing ball speed, performance, and injury prevention. I also have about 2 years working with major league teams, collecting biomechanics data of professional pitchers, where I can actually see ranges that these guys get into, and that gives me a lot of great knowledge. So if you want to see more of those biomechanics or biometric breakdowns on YouTube, just search through my YouTube. I think I have them listed as 3X biometric analysis, and start watching them. You'll start to understand what we're talking about, and you can see the measurements. So once we understand how these guys are moving, which we do with 3X pitching, we map that out for you in our mechanics guides, then our drills have been developed to change things like, or be able to take our power and use it better in our lower half, be able to take our speed and use it better in our hips or whatever. I mean, the point is it's taking that athleticism and trying to get it into movement patterns, right? So that's where it's going to happen. When you get into the biomechanics and the biomechanical drills, really, that's where you're training the athleticism to move more in the angles and the speeds and the timing of the high velocity pitcher. So the drills be used to train those force vectors. So the force vector is the ankle to knee. When we're cleaning, when we're jumping, it's always vertical. When we pitch on the mound, it goes linear. So I wouldn't say right up front, in my level 3, probably my best ones, David Aardsma, Major League pitcher David Aardsma, says it was pivotal in his season this year was doing my torsion force vector throws. So it actually mentions the word force vector. It's a throw, and I actually have it out there. If you look up my torsion throws, just search torsion throws 3X or Top Velocity, you're going to find it. We work to where we sit on a chair. We basically prop ourselves up on a chair. We put torsion in the drive leg knee. What's torsion? That's turning the knee out. That's where the knee is more stable than letting the knee go in. That's where it collapses. So we turn the knee out. We basically prop ourselves up on the chair, which our hips are moving forward. We're actually in that what we call load position, where the back leg is ready to drive. And we start to, holding torsion, we let that ankle to knee, that force vector, start to move into that more linear angle. And a good linear angle is something pointing to your front hip. And then from there, we initiate the drill, and we generate power, we generate force to start the drill, to start the movement, which drives the hips, and then we work in a hip shoulder separation, all the things up the chain. So there's one drill that's going to teach you how to get the force vector into a linear position, and then you're going to activate that muscular power in that position. So then the body just needs to understand, okay, this is the positions I get into, the timing of getting to those positions before I activate force, as opposed to in a power clean, these are the positions I get into, which are vertical, before I activate the force. The muscles really have no idea where the bones are pointing. No idea. They're not that smart, right? All the muscles are told to do is basically fire the motor units and tighten the myophilia. It's like Velcro. They just tighten up. That's what all they're told to do, is just pretty much go tight, relax, tight, relax. The body or the brain, the central nervous system, is activating the muscles to get into position, and then initiating force through big muscle groups, through the prime movers like the calf, the quad, the glute, to then generate the force. So I think it's absurd when guys say that, well, if you're going to train in a vertical plane and pitching is more in a linear plane, or if you're going to train in a transverse plane or a sagittal plane, actually, if you're going to train in a sagittal plane and pitching's more of people think a transverse movement, or you could say more if it's a frontal movement, then how does that help? Well, the body doesn't know the planes. We know the planes. The muscles activate independent of the plane, of the angle, and it's just really the body, the central nervous system, putting the body in that position before that activation is all we have to do. And that's what we do with our biomechanics drills, and that's what they're doing. That's why you have to combine a strength approach with a biomechanics approach to get the result of velocity, ball speed, at the end of the day. Because you could go into that strength approach, maximize all that power. Yeah, it's vertical, and the muscle memory is, okay, when I activate this, my force vectors are up, and it pushes me up off the ground. Well, that's not the end. Now we've got to go into a biomechanics approach and say, like, no, okay, let's not activate it just there. Let's put it in this position and now activate it. Boom. That's the way we really want it. And then working those together, marrying those two programs, which is what we do with 3x pitch and velocity program, is really what's going to give you the better end result of ball speed. And on top of that, you're going to need tools like mobility training, joint integrity training, the mentality of this to really put it all together. You can't make it as simple as, oh, give me a few drills so I can get my power clean into my ball speed. You really have to understand how it all marries together, and that's what we do with 3x pitch velocity program. Anything you want to add?
Yeah. Just some exercise examples that for linear movement exercises that you can do too, or like ice skaters. The ice skaters are the jumps on one leg from side to side kind of thing, and then shuffles, sprint shuffles. So you're going this way, just shuffling as fast as you can. That we do for some of our anaerobic stuff, and then the weighted sled drives, or just any sort of resistance band. Again, it's just a drive that it's kind of teaching you to drive harder with some resistance. But you also have to be careful with ice skaters as plyometrics. I always hear a lot of coaches that do the ice skaters for velocity and how it correlates so well to velocity. But in the 3x drive, it's really not a jump it's not a jump that like you're jumping to create the velocity. It's a drive that you're literally extending with the ankle, the knee, and the hip to get the energy to move up the chain. We see a lot of guys who come into camp that jump, and that isn't how you transfer the energy up the chain. So you have to be careful with that. But also, like Brent was saying, the drills are by far the best plyometric. It's not really a plyometric. It is kind of a plyometric, but the best way to take your power clean, the power you built in the weight room and with the system, and really put it into your mechanics. That's hands down the best way to do it.
Yeah, like Steven said, with doing basic like speed and agility work and lateral movements that are more similar to the lateral drive off the mound. Yeah, that will help, because it's also helping you teach the joints how to stabilize different when the angles change, and that's all part of this process. Like I said, all these have to be built in, but it's just not enough to do that. It's not enough to go clean, do some lateral suicides, and now I'm going to throw. Yeah. Now all that power is going to get in. Problem is in those lateral suicides, if you're losing torsion really quickly, or you're pushing more it's not a full extension drive, and you're not getting hip rotation out of it. All the things that have to happen in the high velocity delivery, there's a good chance they're probably not happening completely in a suicide shuffle, a lateral suicide shuffle, or an ice skater. So, the point is like it is a progression. Those ice skaters, those what other lateral agility stuff is going to help take some of the power, this heavy load training that we're doing to maximize power and get it more in a field movement. Mm-hmm. But still, it's not going to move as well and as seamless into the high velocity delivery until we truly understand how these high velocity guys move and those biomechanics, and we make sure that we actually replicate those movements, and that would be the last level of progression to really see the end result, which is the increase in your ball speed.
Yeah. But it's important too, just like in the fusion system, that you're training in all planes of the movement, the sagittal, transverse, and frontal plane, because all of them are used in the pitching delivery. So people always say like get out of the sagittal plane, and that there's a stigma that we only train in the sagittal plane because we like Olympic lifting and squatting, and that couldn't be more true. Just giving examples of linear movements that we do is just showing that we don't just train in the sagittal plane. You have to incorporate all of them to really build up the pitching delivery.
Yeah, it's called the fusion system that we have in the 3x Pitch Velocity program, because it fuses everything in. So we're training in all aspects, and because pitching is multiplanar, that's how you can do it. But the point is you started off kind of in blocks, right? You start training power, you start training agility, or you're trying to get it more into the field movements, to where it becomes more athletic, and then you try to get it into the biomechanics. So that'd be the last block. Not that we do them in that order, we kind of do them all together. But if we don't have all those blocks working together, then we're not going to have the end result that we want. Good question. If you have another question, go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, ask your question. We answered on the show. Go check out the Top Velocity programs if you want to learn more. I know a lot of these videos are kind of chaotic or crazy, like a lot of terminology, and if you're having a hard time understanding them, I would just say go to TopVelocity.net, get in the pitching articles, just start reading the pitching articles. There's hundreds of them. Start watching the other episodes of the show, start watching the biometric analysis on my YouTube channel, start watching just the regular analysis on my YouTube channel, and it'll really be a great education for you to kind of understand where we're coming from. We've been doing this for a while, so when you've been doing it for a while, you're kind of lost in your own terminology. So if you feel lost, just kind of catch up with those resources, and we'll get you on board. And then go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, ask your question. We answer on the show. We'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah. Hold on, we them boys. We them boys.